This show is brought to you by Celltech MD, the leader in regenerative medicine, balancing your body from the inside out. Heavyweights Podcast, episode 3496. Was it 496 or 95?
Say that again?
Or was it podcast number 3? Fuck.
We're number 3.
Numbers. Oh, number 3. It's not 3,000. Fuck. It feels like that.
Yes.
I feel like we've maybe done 3,000 podcasts over the years, though, right?
Collectively, probably. Going on, dude?
Oh, nothing, man. I was thinking about while I was waiting for you here to get on, I was like, you know what? We should call this like the cursed or forbidden podcast, just because of that old thing that happened for so many times.
Oh, it was every time we did one, it ended.
It ended. We ended up doing it, and now this one, it's like literally every one is going to be this. So, wait, that might mean it might be like the opposite, right? Like it might never end.
Yeah, I mean, we're on a 3-week roll right now.
Yeah, I know it's pretty awesome. Well, but yeah, by the time they see this, they'll be on a 3-week roll. We'll be on like a 5-week roll
by the time they see it. Yeah,
by the time they see it, it's gonna be like the never-ending story, basically.
100%.
And I'm definitely a Treyu, or no, I'm Falcor. I want to be Falcor.
I get it. We got some good ones today, by the way.
Yeah, so we're gonna do some questions, Q&A, man. Did we get some good ones? I'm excited about this. So hopefully there's a lot of like, questions about like penises and things like that, because
no. Well, so that's what I was kind of nervous about. So I posted on my story. I don't like the NGL. I don't even honestly, I think I screwed it up when I was talking on my story. I don't know what NGL stands for.
Not gonna lie, I think.
Is it?
I think
so. Like it's like an anonymous thing. So I feel like it's something else altogether. Like, I don't even know. I hate that thing though, because
like linked with an OnlyFans or something like that.
Yeah, I don't like it because so I don't know, for those of you who haven't used this, it's an orange little box. It's called NGL, and you can anonymously ask questions. It just like takes social media to another level, because social media has got all these people that'll talk shit because they're safe behind a keyboard, and then something like this makes it even worse.
The troll's wet dream, bro. It is a troll's wet dream.
You don't even know who sent it. And like, so for a while there, I would use it every so often, like once a week or whatever. And because people are like, oh, you'll get more engagement. They weren't wrong, but like the audacity of some of the questions that
it's probably your bros. It's probably your bros just fucking with you.
Well, so that was the thing. So then like there's a thing where you can pay like a small little fee, and it'll tell you where the person is located. It won't tell you who
that's
left the
cold. That's cold.
And I'm like, that's kind of horseshit. But I wanted to make sure we had enough questions. So I posted a regular like questions box, and then I posted this thing. You want to guess which is like 3-1 in terms of fucking questions?
Really?
The anonymous one. And they're both fitness related questions.
Okay.
The other reason I don't like it now is something that it recently started doing is it has like a bot in there that will just ask random questions. And the way you know is if you look at the bottom, it'll be like, see who sent this to you. But if it doesn't give you that option, it's one of their like automated ones. Like one of the ones I got from it was, you are, literally the letters, you are the best, love you. That has nothing to do with
it's just AI trying to make us feel good about ourselves.
Right. It's like, you're my crush with a little heart emoji. What's your fave song? Like,
see, they're trying to be hip. That's Skynet trying to be hip, man.
Right. Yeah. Skynet's just disguising itself here. But yeah, so we got a couple of
fooling anybody.
So whenever you're ready, my man, we got a bunch of these good ones.
Let's just shoot. Let's we don't have to do all of them. If we go, whatever the best ones, pick them up or whatever. We can speedball through them. If I get one, let's just shoot.
There's a couple of easy ones. I figure we start with those, and then we'll work into the little more complex ones. I'll warm everybody up. Yeah. This one, I know who sent this one. That person is being a smart ass, but it's still funny. Wants to know what your best bench is. I'll let you go first. Benches?
My best bench is so when I first bought my house, I made this one like it was like a makeshift one. But I went to Home Depot and found this one that's made out of wood and metal, and it's like just the right height to like stand and work on. And it's got caster wheels on it. So like I still have that thing to this day. It's sitting over there under my TV, and I would say that that's by far my favorite.
They're talking about the press.
Oh, weights. Fuck. Um, in
Clip that. You need to clip that.
Well, I hate when motherfuckers ask me, like, you know, when you tell them you're a weightlifter, right?
Yes, I
And then
know.
the first thing they say is how much you bench. And my response is always about once every 6 months.
Yeah.
That's how much I bench.
I just laughed because yeah, like people like to hate on CrossFit, but in all honesty, I stopped, like, I appreciated CrossFit for literally that question alone.
Yeah.
Because once CrossFit became a thing, the number of people that stopped asking me how much you bench when I told them I was a weightlifter went drastically down.
Oh, I thought you were going to say the number of CrossFitters that were impressed by your bench like went up because
No,
like
nobody has
200
ever
pounds on, yeah, if you're a CrossFitter, 225 pounds on a bench is fantastic.
nobody has ever been impressed with what I bench press.
Was that I didn't, I feel like that maybe that offended people. Whatever. Fuck it. It's true.
It's okay.
My best bench, like, are we talking about like with commands? Are we talking like bro? Are we talking about just the most weight, like with a
Mine's a bounce.
slingshot or
Mine's a bounce.
yours a bounce? My best bench weight wise would probably be with the lightest slingshot, which I think is like the yellow one.
Yeah.
I was 445, but
Oh yeah.
with a good pause at the bottom.
Oh, see,
Um, my best, the most I've ever done on a bench with nothing at all is just 405. I just wanted to see if I can get 405. I wasn't competing. I just want to see if I could get it, and I got it, and I never tried to
nice.
go up above that.
See, like my background is throwing. That was like my first sport ever. And so in college we used to do like bounce bench, bounce benching, where
Yeah,
you put like a little pad on the chest and just drop and use like the stretch reflex.
yeah.
The most I did was 440 for two doing that.
That's
Like with
honestly though, dude, 440 pounds coming down on your chest, on your rib cage, like that's more of a manly thing than I think doing it with commands, just because like you got to have some balls.
I have always been like, it's funny because like I get made fun of on the Highland game circuit for like throwing weight for height because I do this little like jump back thing. So like I will swing the weight out in front and then I will jump back and build a stretch reflex in my hamstrings and then launch the thing. Feels so much more comfortable to me. Like I understand the risk factors. Like I could totally just like slip and eat shit doing it. But like from a stretch reflex, I've always been one of those guys that just operates better with a stretch reflex. And so it's funny because the most I've done strict, like following bench press rules with a pause and stuff like that, is only like 375,
Yeah, I was gonna say
comparatively speaking.
I've actually done 385 with commands before.
Yeah, I like
So like
a bunch of guys in the gym were getting ready for a meet, and I just decided to. I had a heavy bench day, so I decided to hop in on with them, and they were like in their like peak and taper for a competition. So we were doing commands, and that is the closest I've ever gotten to a powerlifting meet. Was I had somebody give me like handoff, hold, press,
yeah.
lift it up, rack commands, like the whole ordeal. And like I said, I hit 375 and I was ecstatic. And then the guy that I was like working in with was doing like 440 for like reps with the commands. I was just like, all right, cool. I joked around that he could walk on his hands better than most people could walk on their feet because his goddamn arms are so strong.
I was a
Yeah,
really good handstand walker for sure. I could do that. And
I could too.
my
When I
handstand push-ups were legit for sure.
what that it's funny because like strict handstand push-ups was the first skill I learned
Really.
when I started doing grid stuff, and I could actually cycle strict handstand push-ups faster than kipping. Once
Oh,
I
me
tried,
too. Yeah, no, me too. I never used kipping. I mean, until I fatigued, like, right? Like
yeah, 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 yeah,
if you got to do 100 in a row, you know, I could knock out 50 strict though.
yeah. Oh
Like,
yeah, it was.
I
I don't
could
know,
do as many
50's a
handstand
lot.
push-ups. I know I could do it. I worked my way up
I
to doing
believe you.
50, but I could do as many handstand push-ups as I could regular push-ups.
Yeah, it was one
So,
of those situations. Like that was the first skill. A guy named Ryan Weber taught me how to do them, and it's like I picked it. I always had a good strong overhead though, and
yeah.
like I like the way I'm physically built, I'm definitely more top heavy, so it makes sense. But it was just when I like started learning different CrossFit skills after I was done at Muscle Driver, that was like the first thing I picked up. And then when I was teaching, my kids used to get a kick out of it because in between passing periods, I was still doing grid. And when I was teaching, I would practice handstand walking the length of the basketball court.
Yeah.
So when I was waiting for like the next class to come in for PE, I'd be sitting there like upside down, just like walking up and down the basketball court. That's
Did
how I
you look
practice.
fucking stupid when you did it though? Because I was good at it, but I looked stupid doing it.
Oh, 100%. My
Okay.
legs were
Yeah. Yeah.
everywhere. I
No,
literally
yeah,
looked
like a
like, yeah,
crap. Yeah. Like,
yeah, I was like one of these guys. Yeah.
okay.
Um,
That right there is going to be the clip for the
there you
picture that I
go.
make for
Now
that
you
thing
got to do
around.
the what's your best bench and you telling me about Home Depot.
Well, no, I'm just saying that the thumbnail
Oh,
for the
yeah,
kid is
there you
going to
go.
be us
There you
going
go.
like that. All right, what's the next one?
All right, so we got here is this one has nothing to do with lifting, but I still thought it was I just wanted to get your take on it because I actually had a good question, or I was kind of caught off guard. Thoughts on Nick Saban, Bill Belichick, and Pete Carroll all stepping down from coaching at the same time?
I mean, were they on the Epstein list? Is that what it was? Or
No, nobody was on the Epstein list that I know that we know of. This
nobody on the foot,
question,
nobody on the NFL. So I'm the worst person. I want to get what you think on that. I'm the worst person to ask that because like I'm the one like strength conditioning coach that's like been doing this stuff forever that I could give two shits about almost all sports except for MMA
that's
and
fair.
like pro wrestling.
I
So
mean,
I
I'll
mean
be
I
honest with
knew
you.
that I knew that they went down. I know that Nick Saban is like one of the most like, prolific coaches in all of college
Yeah,
football ever. And so I know it's a big deal, but I
yeah,
mean, fuck, he did it for what? He was with Alabama for what? No, almost 20 years, I think.
yeah. He got his start,
Forgive
I
me, guys, if
believe.
y'all. I mean, I'm sure you
Yeah.
guys know every season and everything like that. But I mean, it's like, damn, okay, it's time to retire. Like, why
So
not?
here was the stat that I saw that kind of blew my mind away. Between the three of them, 904 wins between the three coaches, nine national titles in college football between, and I'm assuming that's Pete Carroll and Nick Saban combined, and then seven Super Bowls.
Wow.
Like that's a ton of crap. Like it's just one of those situations. Like I always liked those three in particular because I felt like they were kind of like the last of the old guard.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's going to be very interesting for me, especially with like NIL transfer portal stuff. Because like Nick Saban has been a huge like I can't stand the transfer portal. I don't like NIL and all that stuff. So I kind of had a feeling he was on his way out. So I'm definitely curious to see what like this next wave of coaches is. But it's just kind of crazy that all three of them stepped down at the same time.
Yeah. The only thing that I would be curious to see, even not being a football fan, is, Alabama's been so dominant for so long. And I guess we're going to find out if it was just Nick or if their program's going to stay as strong as it has been.
I mean, he did win two at LSU before he went to Alabama. He had that
Yeah.
short stint in the NFL, but he
Well,
won
yeah,
two.
no doubt he's a good coach, but it's more
Yeah.
along the lines of is Alabama going to stay at the status that they've been for the last however long?
It'll definitely you'll find out who the fair weather fans are. That's for sure. All right, back to fitness. Then the next one that I had, this one I actually liked a lot, and I saw this one. I was like, this is a good Justin question here. Not the Yips one. Oh, where is it?
Yes,
Oh, here it is.
strawberry jam is better than grape jam for
I would agree
gains.
with that 100%.
Okay. Yes.
This one says, would you rather train an athlete who has great form but is very weak, or an athlete who is extremely strong but has bad form?
So I'm going to answer that with you want me to go first?
Yeah.
I'm going to answer that with it depends. Um, if the athlete is has bad form, but all of his movers like joints and ligaments, if he has good range
Mhm.
of motion and it's just bad form, I think I would choose that. Now, if it's mobility issues, in my mind, that's just a fucking headache, and I would
Mhm.
much rather just get somebody strong that already has good form.
Right.
But in my experience, lifters that have perfect form and are weak generally, unless they just started and they just happen to be really good movers, they're generally weak because they have less of a genetic ability to
Yeah.
develop strength and develop those muscle fibers. So there's not a whole lot that you can do with them. Yes, you can get everybody stronger, but as far as like top ceiling, like where's that ceiling at? Yeah, I would probably say the strong athlete with good form, with the caveat that he has good mobility. It's just his form is shit.
Yeah. I would probably lean more towards the stronger athlete as well, but I also would throw in it depends. It depends on the sport. If it's
Yeah,
something like
sure. Yeah.
weightlifting, like in my experience, and I'm sure you've seen this too, like in a technically proficient sport like throwing or weightlifting, like you got somebody trying to get into the Highland Games or something like that, where it's like nine different events you got to learn technique on top of your lifting and all that stuff. Weightlifting in particular, where literally your technique depends on how well you're going to do in the sport. Those types of athletes that come in like really strong, like I was kind of on the line with that. Like I came into the Olympic weightlifting with a 400-pound push press and a 700-pound deadlift. Like I could do those before I got into weightlifting. And and when I say I was on the line of, is like people who have like shiny object syndrome, like they'll lose interest before they start to finally get the hang of it. And in my experience, like I've had, I had a guy in my gym who we called him Starscream because he was just so fast. He would just blow right through positions
Awesome
and stuff
reference.
like that. He's stupid strong. He was a 600-pound deadlifter, over 400 on the bench and stuff like that. He wanted to just give clean and jerk and snatching a try. He was a former Arena League football player, defensive end.
Oh yeah. So just
And
a naturally gifted, genetically gifted
yeah, he moved. He
human.
just he could squat full range of motion, had no issues, stuff like that, had decent overhead. And so he just wanted to give it a shot. He literally lasted 2 weeks and he stopped because he wanted to try snatches and clean and jerks and he didn't like it. Like he's just like, he's like, because like he
Was
started
it
out.
because he didn't immediately fucking do an amazing amount? Like, is that
It's
what it was?
I don't even think it was that. It was just like he didn't like the repetitiveness. Like it was just like, I mean, this, you've trained weightlifting. It's snatch, clean, and jerk in some form or variation every freaking day. Like you have to have
Do the lift, put another kilo on.
you have to have some sort of a special mentality. It's kind of like we were talking about a while back with strongman. Like you have to have a certain mentality to just keep doing the same thing over and over and over again and still trying to find something to improve. And he just didn't like it. He went back to powerlifting, did great, did strongman, did great, stuff like that. He just did not like weightlifting. Like I said, he lasted 2 weeks. And whereas like I was one of those, like I feel like when I got into it, I just didn't know any better. I was surrounded by, the Cal Strength guys and all these other dudes that were putting up huge weights. I was just trying to keep up with them with no regard to technique. Like I'm like, we're gonna
Yeah.
get under this some way, somehow. And I lifted a ton of weight despite my terrible technique, but I had like that strength reserve to like keep myself from getting injured and stuff like that. Whereas if I was somebody who, can only deadlift at 500 pounds and only, push press like 225 or something like that, trying to sit there and snatch over 300 and clean and jerk over 400, like I probably would have broke something.
And see, that was me. Is
Yeah.
so you were cornbread fed farm strong, right?
I'm
And
from the
you
Midwest,
get
baby.
that. That's what I'm saying. So you get these kids that are like 12 years old and can deadlift almost 300 pounds,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
before they hit puberty. And it's just a genetic aspect that they're gifted in that aspect. And that's why I would pick the strong person because, whereas you might get somebody that has good form or whatever, but if you're a good coach, you can get anybody in good form
Yeah.
as long as they have the mobility. And, obviously it takes longer if we have to restructure tissues and shit. So I think that, like, look, Francis Nagao is a badass, and he was going to be a badass if nobody ever taught him how to fight whatsoever,
Oh,
right?
he's a
Like, he was
stud.
always going to be a stud, and whatever he did athletically, he was going to excel at. He just decided that he wanted to be a boxer, and now he's fucking fighting Tyson Fury and knocking him down. You know what I
Well,
mean? Like,
did you see he's fighting that Joshua, Anthony Joshua now
is he
too.
really? Yeah.
He's
I
got a, he's
mean,
got he's got another pro fight on his hands.
so guys like that are always going to be great.
Yeah.
And as a coach, not saying all coaches want to latch on to like greatness, but like as a coach, there is a direct correlation there. And
It's
you look at
circumstantial.
it is, but you look at a lot of these coaches that are good coaches. But like, let's talk about bodybuilding for a second, right? Like Hani Rambod. Hani Rambod is arguably the greatest bodybuilding coach of all time. If you just look at his stats, a lot of people are Hani haters because he's like, well, he already was taking Mr. Olympias and like, so yeah, if you've got the best in the world and you just don't fuck them up, then yeah, of course. But he is a good coach. You're
Right.
right. But the reason why those people come to him is because they trust him and he knows how to deal with greatness. So I mean, I think you still do have to be a good coach, but I do think if you get those genetically gifted individuals, and that's the strength side, right? Like there's not necessarily a genetic it's not a genetic gift to have good form. That's an acquired skill.
Agreed.
And there's just no substitute for having more like tough connective tissues in your bodies, right?
Yeah.
Like you can't like some people they're just not like you said the other day like a Brian Shaw. He's playing with a deck of cards that we don't get to buy. And that if you're trying to achieve greatness is far more important than
Yeah.
having good form.
And that's why I had said it depends too, because if you've got a guy that's doing something like strongman or like a high school thrower or wrestling or something where like power output is a necessity, but it's not the end all be all, like I'll make it work. Like I have taught high school kids that have terrible mobility. Like I've literally taught them how to do a hang power snatch. Or if they can't even understand the catching aspect, we're just going to do muscle snatches and you're going to move it as fast as you possibly can. Or I've had them just do dumbbell snatches, split snatches, anything along those lines. Like horsepower is horsepower. I've had them do high pull stuff like that. That's so I will take a strong athlete. I think 99.9% of the time. It's also why like when
Yeah.
I get asked all the time, they're like, "What is your ideal weightlifter like to recruit?" And I'll say flat out, gymnasts, tumblers, and throwers. You give me any one of those, and I like that is like that is done it at a pretty high level. And what I consider high level is like college. I have you being competitive in the country in like 2 years if you give me one of those athletes with minimal injuries. Obviously there's caveats and stuff like that, so I'll take the strong athlete any day of the week. But I was kind of curious what your thought was, seeing to it that you come from like the bodybuilding side, in terms of your preferences and stuff like that. I didn't know if you would take the better movement over the absolute horsepower.
No, I mean, look, technically, I mean, yeah, I did do bodybuilding for a little bit, but I mean, I really started as a fighter, like was probably the
That's
first
true. Yeah, yeah.
athletic endeavor that I did. And I'm not genetically gifted at all. Like
Yeah.
people see me when if you've got like broad shoulders, or like when I was doing CrossFit, I could do a bunch of muscle ups and they just thought that I came out of the fucking womb that way or something like that. But
You were hot as a CrossFitter.
I've had to bite and like care, and for anything that I do that's anywhere near impressive at all by anybody's standards, I've had to like just kill myself to get to
Oh
that
yeah, yeah.
point. So like I understand genetics better than anybody, and I would much rather deal with, with that. I mean, I think I like to think that I had pretty damn good form in everything that I did, but I still never, I still never made an American team for weightlifting. You know what I mean? I still never made it to the UFC. And I never made it to an IFBB pro status. I probably made it the closest to that, but like, I mean, it's a lot of it comes down to just genetics. And when we say genetics, I think maybe a lot of people don't understand what that means. Like there's genetics for everything, right? Like you have genetics for blonde hair, you have genetics for
Oh
blue
yeah.
eyes, you have genetics for, the type of muscle fibers that are more leaning towards what you can build easier. How well of a mind muscle connection that you have naturally. Like, can you, like, just as an average person, can you flex your right tricep properly, without
Right.
having any type of practice or training with that? That sounds silly, but a lot of people can't do that. There's a whole bunch of people out there that if you tell them to flex their left glute, they are fucking completely confused and have no idea how to do it.
And
Um,
I want to know who like me is literally doing it as you're mentioning that right now. As soon as you
yes,
said it, I'm like sitting here. I'm
fucking
like, can I
got
flex?
you.
I was like, can I flex my left glute?
You see some people,
Yeah,
it's like we're riding a horse now.
so if you see me like lifting like this, it's me trying to flex my left glute here because Justin's challenging me.
Oh shit.
Um, but
All
yeah,
right.
no,
What else?
that's legit. So then the other one that I thought was another interesting one that I wanted your take on was, we'll make sure I phrase it the right way. Not that. What is your advice for a lifter who suddenly gets the yips around certain numbers? I'm assuming they're talking about Clarking lifts.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna say, have I been out too long and I don't know what the fucking yips are?
I don't either.
It's
I
gotta
honestly, as soon as I saw that, I was like, I have no idea what yips is. I looked it up in Urban
like yip.
Dictionary, and yeah, it's exactly what Urban Dictionary pretty much said. It was like
Okay.
a hand gesture meaning like mental lapse or whatever. I was
Yeah,
just
yeah,
like,
yeah.
oh.
Yeah, they just so in other words, like you said, Clark in it.
Mhm.
Yeah. God, that's a tough one, man. That's a good question. There's so many other factors that come into that, right? Like when are they doing it? Not
Mhm.
just the weight. Are they doing it at that PR weight? Are they doing it at anything? Like, have you tried? If we're talking about, like, are we talking about deadlifting? Like, are we talking about snatch? Are we talking about clean? Are
Right.
we talking about a bench press? Like, I mean, obviously, like you can't really get the yips on a squat, right? Um, or at least, fuck, I hope you don't. Like, honestly, I mean, so if we're talking about
That would be
weightlifting,
dangerous.
yeah, yeah. If we're talking about weightlifting, I would say, try to change variations as much as you can, and then try to make note of when they're doing it. Are they doing it at a certain time into their training?
Yeah.
Are they fatigued? Have they had too much caffeine? Is this a lift that's just maybe that they used to make and they don't make? Like, there's a lot of different factors. You ask those questions, and then I think you come up with a game plan based off of that. But I mean, at the end of the day, You have to probably understand that it's just mental, and you need to be able to create as much volume as close to that number as you possibly can. That's my opinion.
Yeah, it's interesting because like obviously like and I'm always going to reference Glenn because that's just that's my only training stimulus in terms of weightlifting and stuff like that. As a coach, I don't experience it as much as I saw when we were with Glenn, but I think that was just because there was never percentages. It was always heavy in some form or fashion. So literally Glenn was just like you make a PR lift and he's like, all right, let's we'll go up a little bit more. Like it was just constantly just pushing the envelope, pushing the envelope. So eventually you were going to get to a point where you psyched yourself out. The only reason I had a huge issue with that is for me in particular, there were certain numbers that like I have not touched since I worked with him. And it was simply because around those numbers, I either hurt myself or almost hurt myself. And so, like, case in point, I had zero intentions on snatching over 150 once I left muscle driver. I think I did it once as like an FU kind of moment at like
Or
I
at
mean
least like
for
getting under it, right? Like
well no
getting
it
a
was
full snatch.
I wouldn't even touch it. I wouldn't even do it for
Really?
pulls with it and stuff like that. I would either just go straight to like 160, 170, whatever. Like I wanted
Oh,
nothing to
okay.
do
So
with
you're not even talking about being a max. You're just
oh
talking about
I
you
never
got that
wanted
number.
anything to do with 150. And it was because like I had a couple times at muscle driver where like I dropped it on my head. And then like getting ready for the nationals after I left muscle driver, I didn't leave on great terms, but I wanted to prove them wrong. Like I was on like a revenge tour, so I was training for all the wrong reasons. I snatched 335 on a bent bar in a slanted garage floor as like an FU type deal, and that is the last time I've ever touched 150 anything. I think 335 comes out to like 152 or something along those lines. But it was just one of those situations where I was just like, nope, 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 nope. And then I was the same way for a long time with anything over 400. When I was doing CrossFit, I lost a ton of weight. And um, again, for those who don't know, like I had hurt my hip originally on a 190 clean. And the whole story behind that was Glenn was being a jerk, wasn't paying attention during training, thought I was like shorting reps and told me to do another set. I didn't have my shoes on. I had taken like I had taken my knee sleeves off, took my shoes off. I was literally in a pair
Halfway
of
out the
gym.
door.
I was getting ready to leave. Yeah, I had taken all my stuff off and was starting to strip the bar down. He was giving me because what had happened was we had people that were competing at Pan Am's. So we were all going over to somebody's house to watch Pan Am's, and we wanted to get out of training so we can go. And but we did our work and we finished it or whatever. But he didn't believe me in particular that I finished all my sets. So he was being a jerk, like talking all sorts of shit and stuff like that. And me being, full of piss and vinegar, young and dumb, and all that stuff in my gym shoes, no knee sleeves, no nothing. 190 was on the bar, and I'm like, fine, you want me to see me do another set? And I went to go do another clean, caught it, but I caught it weird. And then instead of like dropping it, resetting, and taking the lift again in a minute, I fought through standing up, and I screwed my hip up like permanently from
See, my
that.
fucking lower back hurts just listening to that.
Yeah.
Here's something that's not
But
talked
I'm just
about.
saying, so but then like so when I lost a ton of weight, I was at my CrossFit doing cleans and I had a 405 on the bar and I caught a clean, wasn't even thinking, just I caught a clean, but I bottomed out. But I immediately, it was like almost like a trauma response. I
Mm-hmm.
immediately thought back to that, stood it up, didn't even attempt the jerk. I put all the weights away, didn't even like do the rest of my workout or whatever I had written, and I've never touched 400 since.
Well, the thing that happened with Glenn that's interesting to me is, and that I can't believe that he didn't say something about this, is like once you leave and your mindset is gone and you're putting your flip-flops on or whatever the hell it is that you've got on, you've had an adrenaline dump.
Yeah.
Your adrenaline is dumped. And like that's a very real thing. Like your adrenal glands are no longer producing adrenaline, right? You've completely stopped. Your mindset has changed. Your testosterone's dropped. Your heart rate starts to drop, and not just like a heart rate like if you're in the gym. Like so, you to come back after something like that when your mindset has changed, you might as well have been cold and not even warmed up,
Yeah.
and gone to do that. And
And
that's
I
when people hurt themselves.
and to his, I don't want to say like I'm not trying to defend him or whatever because it was bullshit no matter how you look at it. He was this was also after his stroke, so he just wasn't in the right mindset. Like it was just like there were days where he thought I was Kevin Cornell. You know what I'm saying? So it's
Oh
just kind of
wow,
one of those.
yeah.
Yeah, he was just not in the greatest of mindset. So he probably was thinking about something completely different because he watched me do all my sets. I just remember that day very clearly and stuff like that. But yeah, when it comes to the yips, but one of the things that
Kevin
he
Cornell's a little bit smaller than you, I think, right?
at that time he was not.
Oh, he wasn't?
At that, so Kevin Cornell got big. Like he at one, I know he was pushing 300 pounds at one point. Like
Oh,
he,
I had no idea. I didn't know that.
I lifted with him at the Arnold as a super. He was lighter than I was, but
Okay,
he was
maybe
a
I'm thinking
super.
of Travis Cooper. Okay, yeah. All right.
Travis Cooper is the one he keeps shrinking down.
Yeah, yeah.
But my point of all that was because one of the tactics that Glenn did use, in terms of getting over the yips and stuff like that was, however, because you'd get into a routine of loading a bar a particular way, and he would just tell you, he goes, okay, you need to load it differently. Like he would just like either skip over the number or pick a
Yeah, yeah.
different attempts. Like if you were always doing like fives or zeros, like you do 120, 125, 135, and you're always missing 135 or 140. He's like, okay, you're gonna go 120, 125, 130, you're gonna go 134, 138, 142.
That's a
Like,
good shout. That's a good shout because for me, as silly as it sounds, I missed 60 kilos the most, right? Like, I mean, well, I mean, I never snatched as much as you, but I mean, I've snatched 300 before, right?
yeah, yeah.
As like a 94. So, but when I was snatching upwards of 300, I would mix fucking 60 kilos.
Yeah,
I stopped doing 60 kilos. I went from, what is it? Fucking 40 to 70.
yeah, yeah.
Went from 40 to 70.
Oh,
And
dude,
and
guys used to hate warming up with me and Caleb and Donnie because it got to a point where we were in such a rhythm, like snatching wise, like we would go 50, 80, 110, our first three like snatch attempts, clean and
oh, I
jerks.
remember I remember with the fucking Cal Strength crew and that one time when we did whatever the snatch wars at the CrossFit games in the expo.
Yeah, yeah,
And it was fuck, I think Spencer Mormon was there, and I think it was Danny from Caffeine and Kilos,
yeah,
and
yeah,
there was some fucking solid lifters there. And here I am, and like we're doing it on the fucking concrete, like it's 4,000 degrees
yeah,
outside,
yeah. I
and
remember
we're
hearing about
going
this.
like, yeah, and we're literally going, 60, 100, 120,
Yeah.
140, like it's like Jesus Christ, guys, like
Oh, I
where's our
loved
change plates at?
I
I'm
always
old.
I always loved clean and jerk days when we had to go up to 80% because I'd get there in three attempts.
I'm not
It,
used to it.
it would go, I would go 70, 120, 160. And because my 80% was like 158 or something like that. But it was like 70, 120, 160, three attempts, and I was done. And Glenn used to hate it because on like 80% days, I could get through my entire workout in an hour.
Yeah, that's
Because
good.
my because my
Yeah.
because
You're
my
doing what
because
he
my
told you to.
my 80% snatch was 120. So I would go 50, 80, 110, 120, clean and jerks. Then I would take the bar down to 70 and go 70, 120, 160, done. And he would just shake his head at me as I was taking my shoes off and walking out of the building.
Well, we got about 7 minutes left. Let's do like one more and see where
Okay.
we're at with that. Let's make it a good one.
Make it a good
Something about farts.
something about farts.
You guys that are doing these questions, you got to give us more. I want to tell you how to like, I don't know, like the best cheat meal. I want to do like some like dick and fart jokes. Here we go.
Jokes. Here you go.
Not so much
Speaking of
serious.
cheat meals, here you go. There you go. Favorite post-workout meal that you have ever had? I'm assuming like that means going out with the guys, whatever. Like, do you have a favorite like post-workout, or maybe I'm just gonna change it. Do you have a favorite meal that
I
you have
call
like
I call
ever
it my
gone?
Viking meal. The post workout, I call it the
Let's hear it.
Viking meal, right? So, first of all, I should probably say, just for for prosperity purposes, I'm not a big believer in eating a big meal immediately after you work out. That's not a
Okay.
smart thing to do. I'm a big believer in getting simple carbohydrates and proteins immediately after you work out, waiting about 45 minutes, and then having a fucking meal that's big enough to choke a goddamn good donkey. That's what I believe in. So
Same.
let's not talk about the post workout dextrose, or, like I tend to do like apple juice and protein powder or something simple like that. But then 45 minutes later,
Chocolate, Fairlife, and protein powder.
there you go. That works. Of course.
That's what I was just
The,
downing during
the,
this.
the uncrustables and some whole milk. No, I don't. I try to make sure I don't do the fat. That's the only thing. The Fairlife is I try to have no fat after my workout, just to make sure the absorptions is fat, because when we
Yeah.
start getting that fat, it absorbs more slowly, and I want it fast. But then after that, I want something satiating. So for me, man, I mean, I don't know that it's anything like special or cool. Like I just love like a solid like fajita mix, like a steak, chicken, and shrimp with like some guacamole and rice and beans and just like a gut bomb with like tortillas and sour cream and
Oh my
cheese and
God.
just throw it on there until you're just gonna fucking throw up.
I can feel my bloat building just
Yeah,
thinking about that.
that or just the fattest Culver's burger that you can
Oh, a
with a
Culver's burger.
large fry and one of
You gotta
those
get
like
cheese curds if you're
spinach.
going to Culver's though.
You can get the cheese curds, but you got to get the potatoes too, though. You know what I mean? Because you got to have the starches. So,
I don't know what you
and then I go for like I forget what they call them there. They're like
The concrete
freezes or
mixers.
whatever. Yeah, the concrete mixers. Yeah,
Those are so
that's what I
good.
would go for.
So
Yep.
good. Reese's Pieces concrete mixer.
Yeah.
The best meal that I can recall is all again, I'm going back to the muscle driver days. There was a sushi place that was BOGO, and it was right across the street from Muscle Driver. So we would literally finish our Max Out Fridays. People, because we had a nutrition sponsor at the time. I can't remember. It was some crappy company.
Yeah.
It
Fuck
doesn't
them. They don't
exist
sponsor you
anymore.
anymore.
Yeah, yeah, no, fuck them. Uh, I actually wrote them a very nice letter telling them that I wasn't going to be like working with them anymore. And
Uh,
then they like pretty much sent me like a fuck you response back. And I was just like,
wow.
all right,
Jesus
cool. Way to be
Christ.
professional.
Yeah.
Anyways, but we would like be sitting in the locker room waiting at like after we had changed and stuff like that. Cause we had showers and stuff there. So we'd be like just kind of hanging out, talking, shooting the shit, drinking our protein shakes. And then we would wait, like the 45 minutes or so. Cause a bunch of the guys, that's when RP was becoming a thing. So a
Yeah.
lot of the guys
Yeah.
were on RP
Mike
and they
Israel or whatever.
yeah, they had to sound like nutritional advice from them. So we just did what they did because we felt bad because they were small and couldn't eat a lot. And then we would all go over to the sushi place and it was BOGO. And I loved walking in there with all the weightlifters because the chefs behind the counter would all just start cursing in Japanese when we showed
You're gonna
up.
put
And
us out of fucking business.
dude, they would get
You not
so
eat. No, it's not
they
all
would
you can
they
eat.
would
It's
get
all you can
so
eat.
they would get so mad because we would get like boats of stuff brought over to us, and like they would remind us that like you have to eat all that, you have to eat all that, and me be
Although
I
some of
just
those places that like you can't get more. There's
yeah
this one place called Sushi Bros here, and it's bullshit because if you don't finish your plate, they charge you extra for not finishing your plate
oh
if you order
yeah. This
something.
place was one of those too, and it was just funny for us because we would order like 20 rolls a piece for
Yeah,
each of us, and they would bring it on these little boats and these things, and so they would
yeah.
and they would do
You're getting like the good like with the katsu and all that shit though, right?
oh
Or are
yeah,
you
yeah,
getting
yeah.
like okay, not the clean sushi. I was gonna say
Yeah.
like yeah, because
I
like
would get a mix. I would get a mix
yeah,
of stuff.
the tuna
Um,
roll, but then also the dragon roll
Oh
and
yeah, 100%. The spicy crunchy shrimp rolls and all that
yeah,
stuff. Yeah.
yeah, with the
But
tempura.
like yeah, and I didn't do the soy sauce with the wasabi. I just did the spicy mayo.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
too much estrogen, bro. Can't have that shit in my body.
something like that.
I
But
don't want to grow bitch tits. No
yeah,
soy sauce.
that was 100% my problem. Being 330 pounds. But no, we just like I
It's
would
the
put
soy sauce.
yeah, right. I would put it away and they would just sit there at the counter watching us just destroy. Like, 'cause it'd be like me, Caleb Whitby, Mike Zella, Sean Rigsby, Taylor Harris, Becca Gurdon, all of them would, Matt Bergeron, like that whole crew would go
Dude,
walking
I've
in.
completely, man. We gotta have those guys on, dude. I complete like Sean
I
Rigsby and all them. Like I've
I
done
get Sean and
podcasts with
Taylor on
all.
no problem.
Yeah, I've done podcasts with all those guys, man. It's been forever since I've talked to them.
Yeah, but like that was always one of my favorite meal things to go to.
Yeah.
And then once I moved back to Chicago and had my own gym, after trainings on Thursdays, we would go, or Thursdays or Wednesdays. There was a taco place called La Placida Taquiera. It's still there, but it's La Placida Taquiera. And tacos were like $1.50, $1.60 or something like that. And we would go over there and get like 10 or 12 tacos and and they weren't like small either. They were decent size
Yeah, they're
ones.
not the street tacos. They're like full
Yeah, no,
size.
yeah, and we were like destroying tacos. Those are my two like fondest memories of like post workout eating and stuff like that. It's just sitting there, and it's always funner and easier when you're around other guys and girls that are lifting. Like it's more enjoyable. Otherwise, when you're by
It is.
yourself, it's just
Yeah.
miserable.
I mean, unless you're just a fat fuck that likes to eat food. I mean, there was a place called Senior Taco when I was getting ready for the national championships for when I was doing classic or whatever. And there's a place called Senior Taco in Daytona. And it was literally like within walking distance from my condo that we were at.
Yeah.
And like they did this like chalupa thing or like the double decker taco that Taco Bell
Oh
does, but
yeah.
like they do it like legit. And like I would go over there and just gorge myself on it. So well, we got less than a minute here. So speaking of food, I'm gonna go fucking gorge myself with some more food. That was
Yes,
pretty
sir.
fun. I know we didn't get all the questions. We'll have to do it again. And maybe I'll stop being lazy and I'll upgrade my damn Zoom so we can do a longer than 45-minute podcast.
I like this style though. Don't worry about it.
What, like the blitz? I kind of like it
Yeah,
fast and like, you know,
gets it
like in
done.
your face too. You guys let us know if you like this or not. If you guys like the quick ones, if you want longer format, I'm actually interested to hear. So you guys comment below. Thank you guys. We'll see you on the next one. And
Take care, guys.
heavyweights out.